This is the top 20 Scrum Master interview questions and answers to prepare you to land that job and ace that interview, coming from a Scrum Master. This is a two-part series, and this is number 2 of the two-part series. This will help you boost your confidence, help you prepare for that interview, so you can go in there and radiate a servant leader to those you're interviewing and really show your best self. If you like this video, please like the video, please subscribe on YouTube. Let's get started. This is part 2 of a two-part series of top 20 Scrum Master interview questions to get you prepared for your Scrum Master interviews. The biggest thing here and how this will work, just like the last video, I highly encourage you to pause the video after I ask the question. The answers are actually concealed for this purpose. You can test your knowledge and then see what the answer is. And I can give more context to you of a real example to help piece this together for you to be successful in your upcoming interviews. This is the second 10 questions out of 20. I covered the first 10 in the first video, and this is 11 through 20. Let's get started here. What actions do you take to ensure continuous improvement? Again, pause the video, write your answer down, type it up, practice it with someone else, and then resume the video and see how your answer compares. You can see what areas of improvement you have after this. Retrospectives. This is the first thing that comes to everybody's mind here. To reflect on the team's processes and identify areas for improvement. Important here on having that moment of retrospective, making sure that there's actions created from those retrospectives, and then making sure those actions actually get back into the backlog. Because if there's no one taking actions of all the time you spent, nothing's going to get changed, and you're going to continue down the same path you were before instead of improving on your current path and getting better as you're going forward and through every iteration. Question number 11. How do you handle stakeholders who demand fixed deadlines and scope? It's about education. There might be some stakeholders that have no experience in this or haven't used it in practice. They might be used to another form of operating model, which is fixed deadlines and fixed scope. I would educate those stakeholders on the benefits of Agile, flexibility you get with it. There might be time wasted of over planning in the beginning when we know things are going to get changed. Things are complex now, hardware and software integrated, distributed systems, on-prem, hybrid clouds. It just gets complicated. And how do you do this? Is you plan for flexibility. And giving that information of the differences between those two and how scope, timelines, and people are managed differently, and showing why it can benefit the project or program, that would provide the transparency for that stakeholder, and also understanding there's the benefits of transparency and negotiating priorities. There's some ways to work to making sure we're reducing bugs or new feature updates that we didn't foresee in the future. Question number 13. How do you handle a team member who constantly misses deadlines? I would address the issue privately. It's very important because it keeps that trust with that team member. No one wants to be called out in a meeting with a bunch of bosses or managers. It makes them look bad, and that loses trust with that team member. Pull them into a private meeting and understand their delays. What's going on? Do they not understand the work? They're not getting enough information from the stakeholders or product owner? Is there outside of work things going on? Some frustration, or their parents are in the hospital and they're having a bad time, they're going through a breakup. And understanding those informations can help the team, coaching that team to be the best they can and figuring out what's the best solution forward. They can improve their estimations or have realistic expectations, right? And help them improve on their skills and management skills to showcase that work, to make that visible and transparent. Next question. How do you handle external dependencies that affect your team's progress? Identifying these dependencies early on is important. And there's an event called in SAFe, the Scaled Agile framework, called PI planning, program increment planning. This is where you can actually look ahead from the team's work to actually identify those dependencies and risks. And you can communicate to the stakeholders to help remove those impediments, mitigate those risks early on before it becomes an issue. I highly recommend that type of event, that alignment, and creating high-level roadmaps at the beginning of any project. There's also some things that you can do within the team, because you can't solve a hardware piece being delivered to the team that is needed to start something. Then you got to adjust timelines and you got to reprioritize the work. You can do some other work before that, but at least identifying and have that conversation up front before it's too late. Better working with your team and also working externally to customers or external stakeholders and getting that trust of delivering. The next question is, how do you ensure the Scrum artifacts are maintained and updated? Education, important. And let's define too, what are Scrum artifacts? These are product backlog, sprint backlog, and burn down charts. Those are the artifacts that we're referring to here. It's important that the team takes a self-organizing manner, and the Scrum Master helps facilitate that. A lot of times, usually the Scrum Master is the one that's managing this or leading these efforts and capturing this, working with the product owner or the development team. But it's a collaboration, and everybody should be self-organizing and able to actually conduct these meetings and capture these artifacts for the team. They have the data to look back on if things are different or things worked well. They have the data to figure out what they can improve or what they can double down on. Next question. How do you handle a team member who resists adoption of Agile practices? A lot of times this happens in the beginning when teams are changing the way of working. It happens to everybody. Humans inherently resist change. A lot of people don't like change, and you have to sit down with them and understand their concerns. Create a list of what are your top concerns of why you want to convert, and walk them through and educate them on these are the things you're concerned about. These are actually where Agile and the benefits that Agile addresses those. And ultimately, the goal is producing value for your customers earlier and quicker, and also improving productivity within the team. Very important benefits. And then also showcasing that data. This is the follow-on bonus question. I'd provide metrics at a certain time. How about we revisit this in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks? I can show you that value and show you how it's benefiting the organization. Next question is, how do you handle a situation when a product owner is unavailable during a sprint? This happens a lot too. Sometimes teams don't even have product owners. There's nobody to guide them. The team is guiding themselves. How do you handle someone that's non-existent or not there or not providing input? They're too busy. Usually they're too busy. It's sitting down with that product owner and ensuring that there's alignment on the communication and the priorities. They don't have time. Is it even a priority for the organization? Should the team be working on other items or product backlog items? Do we need another person? Do we need a liaison or someone to actually play that product owner part for that team to provide that guidance? Secondary option, because let's be honest here, every situation is imperfect. There's nobody that runs Scrum or Agile to the T exactly like it's described. There's always modification, the context of that organization and that team. And sometimes, in the worst case, you can have your team self-organize. We have a liaison of the product owner within the technical team, a technical lead or someone that's more senior, to say, please make these decisions for me. I trust you and give you that responsibility to help when I'm not here to make the best decisions available to produce that product or those features to our customers and that value. Next question is, how do you ensure that the team stays focused and motivated throughout the project? Remember, the Scrum Master is like a coach. Take your favorite coach from your sports team. Take Phil Jackson. How do you ensure the team is still focused on the end goal? This is just in a business versus a sports team, but there's still an end goal to win the game, to score the most points. And for a project, it's to deliver value to the customer, make the customer happy, and purchase more of the product or continue to do business with that company. Promoting that work environment is important. Making sure we're recognizing our team achievements, making sure they have ownership, making sure they're collaborating. How do you make sure the team is working together for those sprint goals or iteration goals? And making sure you're facilitating those regular feedback, even if it feels mundane, is a way to spice it up. There's a way you can change the retrospective format a little bit to make people more interested and to make it more collaborative. Also making sure that the team's able to be honest with you, to making sure you know the real situation. You can do your best as a team to adjust. Next question is, how do you handle a situation where the team wants to make changes to the process? Do you block it? Most of the time, the team has some good insight, and you can hear them out and understand like what proposed changes and why you're proposing the changes, and understanding if these actually align with the Agile principles. Does it promote transparency? Does it promote collaboration? Big item here, making sure it's mapping back to those principles. And if it's not, then I would highly recommend that you propose a counter offer aligning with more of the Agile principles. Or it does, and you let the team modify and adapt to their situation to improve their performance. Best way to figure out the way of working is that actually team doing the work and improving that way of working in their implementation, and they're learning more about the product, the customer, their market, and the technology in their team. And the last question is, how do you handle a team member who's resistant to change? Very similar to the last one. Understanding their concerns, where are they coming from, giving them empathy, and very important, using that EQ to understand why they're resistant to change, and communicating the benefits of the change, and then help them with embracing it and making sure that they have the support they need. And how do you provide them training so they feel confident of actually working with that new technology or with the practice, helping that team out. Important as a Scrum Master to identify those type of items and resolving it. And that was the last question for today. I appreciate everyone joining today. I hope that helped and provided value to you. I would love to hear your comments below and additional questions if you need more context what I described today. And also, how do you continue? There's other items you can continue learning, because this is just 20 questions. There's a lot more content out there that can help you with your interviews and ace that interviews for that new job. And that's continuing learning, that growth mindset within Agile. And can you do that? There's some certification classes here that I offer. I'll provide it into the description in the YouTube video below. There's also some free YouTube classes that I have that combine some of these principles and explains them, breaks them down, gives you practical knowledge, and also tools of how to work with the team in different positions, utilizing Jira to making sure your team is producing the most value for your customers. And like always, thank you, stay Agile-ish, and follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or any other of my social media handles. And I'll see you next time.